Thank you so much for inviting me to speak at your annual conference, and it's a privilege to follow French Hill. You know, I have to tell you, I was elected with French in 2014, and I enjoyed listening to his remarks this morning, and I think French really just personifies, it's almost as if he's been in government for many, many years, because he just strikes me as already a statesman among us, and it's a pleasure to serve with him. Again, it's an honor to be here today, especially at such an important time in the U.S.-Egypt relationship. You know, for over 2,000 years since St. Mark brought Christianity to Egypt, the Copts have been ingrained in the cultural and social fabric of Egypt. In fact, the Copts' name is derived from the Greek word for Egypt, which is Egyptos. Unfortunately, the Coptic Christians are now facing some of their most challenging times in their history. While it's true that the attacks are attacks on all of Egypt, I want to be clear in saying that the attacks specifically are aimed at the Coptic Christians. Terrorist groups have made a point to specifically mention the Coptic Christians in their recruitment videos, and they're wreaking havoc on Egypt's Christian population. Egypt is facing a legitimate insurgency from terrorists, but the Copts have been subject to a disproportionate amount of the violence. That is a fact. I'm encouraged by President Sisi's positive statements, a state funeral that he gave to the Coptic martyrs, the multiple airstrikes he's launched in retaliations to the attacks, how he's repeatedly challenged the religious establishment in Egypt. These are all good things. In addition to conducting swift investigations to find the culprits behind the attacks, President Sisi has stood with the Copts in church, celebrating Christmas with them, and has followed through on his promise to repair all of the churches that were destroyed by the Muslim Brotherhood in 2013. President Sisi should be applauded for these actions as they are unprecedented in Egypt's history. However, more needs to be done, especially at a time when Coptic Christians are being targeted by terrorists. In his speeches, he regularly mentions that all Egyptians are equal and that the terrorists are trying to divide the fabric of Egypt through these attacks. He is absolutely correct that that is the aim of the terrorists, and the Egyptian government should do everything possible to stop the terrorists. Since the Copts are facing a disproportionate amount of violence, they should also be part of the solution. I repeat, the Copts need to be part of the solution. As President Sisi says, Egyptians have to stand together now more than ever, and a great first step would be to show the terrorists that all Egyptians are unified in their resolve. The Egyptians could show the terrorists that they mean what they say by placing more Copts in high-level security positions in intelligence, military, and local security forces, as Copts are almost currently non-existent in these positions. I was elated to see Secretary Mattis visit Cairo earlier this year, but you know what else was great about that visit? Right next to Secretary Mattis was his Deputy National Security Advisor, Dina Powell, a Coptic Christian. The United States stands strong next to Egypt in their fight to combat terrorism, but the Egyptians should realize that many of the solutions are right in their own backyard. George Washington University did a study on the Copts, and you won't believe what they found. Almost 9 out of the 10 Copts who responded to the survey had a college degree. 45% of those people had advanced degrees. Over 50% of the households had incomes in excess of $100,000, almost 1/5 in excess of $200,000. Despite all that success, there was one stat that really stood out. 95% of the people that responded to the survey said that the future of Egypt was still important to them. So despite all of their success and the stability in the United States, although we have our own challenges, they are still deeply concerned and committed to what's going on in Egypt. The Copts are deeply patriotic people that love their country. However, they need an appropriate avenue to serve. I'm proud to represent a vibrant Coptic community in Southeast Michigan, and I'll continue to work with the Egyptian government to address the divisions that currently undermine our mutual goals. While I know the road and the solutions will be tough, I have already established strong relationships with the Egyptian ambassador here in Washington and regularly meet with their ministers and members of parliament, including as recently as this week. The Egyptian people are as determined as anyone, and I know they have the will to fight the Muslim Brotherhood and other terrorist groups. Egypt is the center of the Arab world and has a unique role to play in combating the region's challenges. I have profound respect for the resolve and the grit of the Egyptian people, and I am confident that Egypt will continue to work towards the peace and the stability that their citizens deserve. I promise, and I will be honored to stand with them on this most worthwhile journey. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today.